We are at the very end of Proverbs chapter 31, now in verse 23. And this is the last section of Proverbs, and it is on the virtuous woman. This is from King Lemuel's mother. She taught him these things. This is from her. So we can pretty much deduce, or it's more than an assumption, that she would have been inspired in this. Now, King Lemuel is the one that wrote them down. But this, he's saying this came from his mother. And so this would be from his mother. And the virtuous wife is the absolute antithesis of other sorts: the immoral woman, the foolish woman, the contentious and angry woman, the adulterous woman, the hateful woman. This is, and if someone decides that the Bible is picking on women, they don't know the Bible at all. They don't, nor do they know the book of Proverbs at all. It's a look at all of humanity, both good and evil. There's good characteristics, there's evil characteristics in everybody. And I remember a fella, he worked for a particular university. It was supposedly a Christian university. And he had I forgot what he taught. He did not teach Bible. He more like taught biology. But he had a young student, woman, who asked him, why does the Bible why is the Bible always against women? And he said, what do you mean? And she said, it says nothing but bad things about women. And he said, where did you hear that? And she said, oh, it's our Bible professor. and he obviously is lying, or he is as incompetent as it gets. He's obviously lying. You never heard of Abigail? You never heard, Eve made the same mistake that Adam did. All right? They're both equal in that. You have Esther and Ruth and Rahab. These are extraordinarily good women. And here is this description of the virtuous wife. And one would have to ask the question, whether you're male or female, why would anyone want a wicked wife? Unless you're just a wicked man. All right? That'd be the only reason. You don't, there's nothing good that's going to come out of this. Nothing at all. And yeah, you have Ahab and you have Jezebel. All right. Ahab had his problems. And Jezebel, well, she didn't help him at all. I've described him as being fire already, and she brings the gasoline. Okay. And he was already a problem. He was already an inferno, and she just made it worse, is what she did. If she had been more of an Abigail, I suppose, or more of a Ruth, he could have been calmed down. That's not to say he would be absolutely good, because you don't know, but a good woman could in fact calm him down, bring him to, and certainly not escalate things. But, okay, so we're in verse 23, Proverbs 31, verse 23. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders in the land. So she did marry a good man. All right, that's they are helping each other in this, and he holds his own merits. She's not the one that made him that way. He was already that way, and she married him. He already had his virtue to him. He already had that. Now together they can have a home that is virtuous. They can have a home like that. Verse 24, she makes linen garments and sells them and supplies sashes for the merchants. And we spoke about this last week. Going back to verse 13, she seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. Well, what did she do with the wool and the flax? Well, here it is. You've got the linen garments, that's from flax, and the sashes for the merchants, perhaps their wool. But she is being productive. She is showing that of personal initiative rather than being idle, rather than just looking for luxury and opulence. She is someone who is doing something productive. She's not eating that bread of idleness. Now, we come to verse 25. Strength and honor are her clothing. This, by the way, is the last metaphor in the book, in case you were wondering. It's of neither here nor there, just a note. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. Here is where patience pays off and diligence pays off. And we'll get that to verse 31 as well. She shall rejoice in time to come. That today may be a rough day. Last week may have been a rough week. That the whole romantic notion that you had when you got married, you just didn't know it was going to require so much responsibility out of you. You know, that the days of being a child are done, and there are children relying on you. There are people relying on you, and sometimes things can be rough, and it's not a day at Disney anymore. That's done. But patience does pay off. And that constant and that consistency and continuity of being there day in, day out, in fact, being diligent to know the state of your flocks, all that comes around to where there is that day of rejoicing, and you can look back and see these are the things, this is the product of doing good. This is the product of showing the patience through all those years. This is the joy that comes from it. It's not to say that those earlier years didn't have their moments of joy. They would have. But there's some tough times in there. And some folks, that's not what they wanted. They like the whatever occurs in a singles bar. They like doing whatever with their friends, and they didn't want to be tied down. Well, there's a thing called home and family, and that requires an adult. And that requires someone who is, in fact, willing to be the person be the mother or be the father they're supposed to be. All right, strength and honor are her clothing. Without virtue, there can be neither strength nor honor. There has to be that virtue. Without virtue, there's only degradation and shame. That's all there is. Just corruption and shame. Verse 26, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. Note, wisdom and the law of kindness are the same thing. And this is the way that Proverbs work. That you look at the first phrase and the second phrase, and you look for the parallels. You look for, sometimes you need a full explanation of what the first section means. They're both self-evident. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She is one who speaks wisdom. She's going to be teaching that to her children, and she's going to be offering that to her husband. A husband needs to have his own wisdom, that's for sure. But he also needs a wife who has wisdom as well, because they are a team, they are a unit. They are the ones over their own home and the direction of their home. They need each other. And that a man should not be in a relationship where his wife has nothing but foolishness. You can't trust her to give any kind of good advice. All right, case in point. Curse God and die. That's about the dumbest advice you can give. I don't know any worse than that. All right. Now, granted, Job's wife was going through as much as he was. Now she wasn't covered in boils, so there are things that she missed out on, but she lost just as much as he did. And there is no doubt in my mind that she was wise, because of everything that is said about his family, that she was wise. But that was very bad advice. I don't think that was typical out of her. I just don't. Now, I don't know, but looking at everything else about Job, I think that she probably was a very good woman. Now, she was just at a breaking point. Now, going to verse 27, she watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. So she's not involved in just self-indulgence. This isn't a selfish sort of relationship where everyone else serves her. She is not idle. She is doing something, and something productive. Now, I made mention of this just a few minutes ago, but it's from Proverbs 27:23. Be diligent to know the state of your flocks. Now, that did apply to kings, and we showed how that applied to kings, because you continue into the next verses and you will see he's talking about the crown. But this would apply to anyone. Actually, this would apply to anybody, but not just to kings or not just to shepherds. This would be keeping watch over your household, which she does. She watches over the ways of her household. She does not neglect them. She is diligent in it, and it matters. All right, she doesn't want anyone going without, or anyone who is currently in pain, where that somehow that's got to be resolved, or someone is being neglected. She doesn't want that. Now, concerning bread of idleness, Amos 6:4-6, we see those who lie on beds of ivory, stretch out on your couches, who sing idly with instruments like David invented. Not to say that David was just lounging around on his couch, as these were, but they really are just very wealthy, idle people. And wealthy, idle people usually get themselves in trouble. Matter of fact, I think you could set your watch by it. Wealthy, idle people are going to do something they shouldn't be doing. They're going to. And it's that idleness more than anything else. Verse 28, her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. She is receiving praise where this is the highest praise a human could give another human. It is the highest praise. Why is that? Because it is from her family. How many very famous people, and I don't mean just celebrities, I mean famous people who know they're important and they're busy doing important things, and they're too busy doing important things to tend to something else that is also important. That's their family. And I remember it was one fellow, I'm not going to mention names, he is long deceased, but his youngest daughter literally said, I never saw him. Everybody else knew him in his day. He was pretty famous, but she never did. She never did see him, or it was so rare she hardly remembered it. And these are the people you want praise. This is where it matters. This is where it matters. It's not from fellow co-workers. It's not from a company. It's not from nations. It is, what about your family? What about this? Is this not important? And it is. And I'm not talking about just about the mothers. I'm talking about fathers as well. I would rather be, and I pretty much have it, I would rather my family know who I am, and they would know everything about me. They would know my weaknesses. They would know my strengths. They would know all those things. I would rather them know who I am, and nobody else does, than for it to be switched, where everybody knows me except my family. All right. Family, when they see me, it's because I'm on TV, or I'm in a movie, or I'm in the news, or whatever it is. They don't know me at all. But here is her children rise up and call her blessed. This is the greatest sort of reward one human could give another human, because this is at home. No one knows you better than the people at home. That's the way it's supposed to be anyway. That's the way it's supposed to be. Her husband also, and he praises her because she is good. Now verse 29. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. All right, now, who is this you? Because this is coming from King Lemuel's mother. Obviously, he's not talking about King Lemuel because he's not a daughter. All right, but you excel them all. Who is that? One of two things. It is either King Lemuel's mother, and this is what he's saying to her, or this is a general statement to the idea of the virtuous woman, which I tend to think is the second in that. Speaking about that virtuous woman, that many daughters have done well. They've done okay. They have done okay. But here is the one that excels all of that. Now verse 30. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. This is where her virtue originates. This is the basis of it. She fears the Lord. This goes back to chapter 1, verse 7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of all knowledge. But fools despise wisdom and instruction. All right? This is what makes her, this is the foundation point of where she is virtuous. She has the fear of the Lord. And this ties up the Proverbs. Matter of fact, the last verse is also going to tie it up as well. This is, of course, the last mention of Jehovah, because a woman who fears Jehovah, it's actually in the original, not the word the Lord. It is Jehovah. She shall be praised. So, charm is deceitful. Beauty is passing. Proverbs 11:22, as a ring of gold in a swine's snout, so is a lovely woman who lacks discretion. All right? That beauty, the outside appearance, would be that gold ring. But what's behind that gold ring? Well, you don't know until you find out. You don't know. That a virtuous woman, there continues to be beauty behind that. There continues to be beauty. But this woman that lacks discretion, described here as that gold ring worn by a swine, worn by a pig. All right? A charm is deceitful, yes, where charm can be used for the sake of manipulation. And it's very effective. It's very effective. And beauty is passing, all right? Someone can be absolutely taken by beauty, and but that's only for a bit. But a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. So it comes back to verse 28. Her children are praising her. Her husband is praising her. No doubt there are others who praise her as well, including King Lemuel's mother doing that. Now, verse 31, our last, and this does tie up everything. This ties it all up, that if one were following the words of Proverbs, this would be it. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Her works praise her. It's not just children and husband. Obviously, the Lord is going to praise her as well, but it's the fruit of her hands. This is what true praise is based on. Not just the shallow praise of someone who has beauty or who is charming. This is for someone who truly has been doing things and doing positive things. Her own works praise her in the gate. This is the end result of Proverbs. This is the end result of a good life. Works will praise, good works will praise, evil works, well, they're going to bring shame. And give her, in one could apply this in the opposite direction of someone who has just been wicked, like a Jezebel or like an Athaliah or someone else. Give her the fruit of her hands. All right, well, that's true. Everyone is going to receive the fruit of their hands. Everyone will, whether it's good or evil. Everyone will receive that fruit that is there. And let her own works praise her at the gates. Well, what sort of praise will that be? Good works will truly be praised. Evil works, well, there's going to be a result. And the result is there. And this is the end result in all of Proverbs. That you are personally responsible for your actions. You are personally responsible. You cannot blame somebody else. And we all know people that they're always blaming somebody else for the things that they have caused. Always. And sometimes it's that they can't find anybody to blame, so it's a lack of luck. That's not exactly it. Or it's misfortune, or everything is against me. Maybe everything is against you because you have been so evil and the consequences are coming around. All right. Can't blame parents. Can't blame society. Can't blame husband or wife or anything like that. It is personal responsibility, and that will be ultimately judged. Completely judged in the end. Now, that is the end of Proverbs. Months ago, going really back to when we were on chapter 10, and in chapter 10 I showed you connections inside that chapter. They're kind of complicated. And I loosely spoke of other things that I knew could, or I suspected could be done. And I said I didn't want to talk about them until I had actually done them. Well, now's the time to show you one of those things. And I suspected it. And you may have already gathered, maybe, there's no need that you had to have figured this out. You may have already gathered that I was doing this. Because as we've been going on, and not every verse, but as we have been going along, I have been referencing other books of the Bible by way of some example proving something, or another verse that's saying the same thing that the proverb was saying. But what we're doing, and we're just going to do this briefly because we don't have a whole lot of time, but this is Proverbs and its connection with the rest of the Bible. I thought I could do it, and yeah, you can. This is where every book of the Bible can be shown to have some kind of connection to what Proverbs says. All right? So this connection with what this is. It's a demonstration of the connection of Proverbs to all books of the Bible. There's going to be similar statements or examples of what Proverbs was speaking about. Okay? And each book of the Bible will be represented and matched with one proverb. So, what this is not complete and intensive. That would be too big of a job. Just going in Psalms would be monstrous, because there's a lot of statements there's a lot of things in Psalms that match up with statements in the book of Proverbs. We could take the Sermon on the Mount and make a lot of comparisons, show where a proverb is linked up to a statement that Christ made. That's Matthew 5-7. We could show that, but we're not. We're not doing this. It's just going to be one proverb in one book. So we start obviously with Genesis. All right, and this is simple enough. Proverbs 11:26. The people will curse him who withholds grain, but blessing will be on the head of him who sells it. Genesis 41:57. So all countries came to Joseph in Egypt to buy grain, because the famine was severe in all the land. Okay, now this is not the only place in Genesis where we could make a comparison with something in Proverbs. This is just a good one to use. There's a lot more. Genesis was one of those where there'd be a lot of things we could make comparison to. Exodus. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord like the rivers of water. He turns it wherever he wishes. Exodus 14:4. Then I will harden Pharaoh's heart so that he will pursue them, and I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his army, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord, and they did so. Leviticus. Proverbs 11:1. Dishonest scales are an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Leviticus 19:35-36. You shall do no injustice in judgment, in measurement of length, weight, or volume. Then he speaks of honest scales and honest weights. Numbers. Proverbs 30:10. Do not malign a servant to his master, lest he curse you and you be found guilty. Numbers 16:3. They gathered together against Moses and Aaron and said to them, you take too much upon yourself, for all the congregation is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of the Lord? Well, this is maligning God's servant to God, is what is going on here with Korah. All right, Deuteronomy, Proverbs 13:4. Notice, the soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. That's a promise. And look, Deuteronomy 8:18. And you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth. You're the one that's got to do it. He's not just going to hand you bars of gold. He's not going to do it. You have to do this, that He may establish His covenant, which He swore to your fathers, as it is this day. Proverbs 2:22. But the wicked will be cut off from the earth, and the unfaithful will be uprooted from it. Joshua 7:25. This concerns that of Achan. And Joshua said, why have you troubled us? The Lord will trouble you this day. So all Israel stoned him, that's Achan, with stones, and they burned them with fire after they had stoned them with stones. All right, now, we can continue through this, but for time's sake, we won't. All right, I just want you to see. We're going to breeze through this. Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 Chronicles, 2 Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job. Psalm has a lot. Proverbs, yeah, I did Proverbs. I showed the one of the repeats. Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon even. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentation, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Now we go in the New Testament. Matthew. Oh yeah, and with this one, I just put, there are other places for this. He who trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like foliage. Then Jesus said to his disciples, assuredly I say to you that it is hard for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Well, there are other places where we can find that. That's maybe the only one I did that. Mark, there are many plans in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord's counsel, that will stand. He spoke this word openly. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Peter is rebuking Jesus. Jesus saying that he is going to die. And Peter, there are many plans in a man's heart. Peter's plan was that Jesus wasn't going to die. Well, no. Peter has that wrong. And it doesn't matter what Peter thinks or what Peter might attempt to do. That's the Lord's counsel will stand. Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, James, 1 Peter, 2 Peter, 1 John, 3 John, 2 John, Jude, and Revelation. All right? We'll just do Revelation. Proverbs 17:10, rebuke is more effective for a wise man than 100 blows on a fool. And Revelation 9:20 is not the only place where this can be found. But the rest of mankind who were not killed by these plagues did not repent of the works of their hands. They did that they should not worship demons and idols of gold, silver, brass, stone, and wood, which can neither see, nor hear, nor walk. So they had received 100 blows, and they still don't repent. They're still oblivious. Just for the sake of it and for the fun of it. You can't quite read that. Can you read that? Yeah. Yeah, what about the Quran? Okay. Quran. Okay, so Proverbs 12:22, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who deal truthfully are His delight. Now, I didn't do this to all the surahs in the Quran. Surah 16:106, anyone who after accepting faith in Allah utters unbelief, except under compulsion in his heart, remaining firm in faith. Now, I gotta walk up here because I need to walk you through this. All right. Anyone who, after accepting faith, we're gonna exclude this heart. But anyone who, accepting faith, open their breast to unbelief, on them is the wrath of Allah, and theirs will be the dreadful penalty. But what he says, there's an exception to this. Except, or anyone who, after accepting faith, utters unbelief except under compulsion. What does that mean? That means you're allowed to lie. That's exactly what that means. That you can lie that you're even Muslim if it's under compulsion, if you think you're under compulsion. If it's to your benefit, then you can deny your faith. All right? Well, that doesn't quite match up with what we've learned in Proverbs at all. Here's a little bit more. All right? These 6 things the Lord hates, yes, 7 are an abomination to Him: a proud look, a lying tongue. Notice, Surah 354, and they, the unbelievers, plan to deceive. And Allah planned to deceive the unbelievers. And Allah is the best of deceivers. Okay, how does that match up with the wisdom that God gives? Okay, let's just say it. This is not from God. This is the words of a man. All right. And I will also permit the distinct possibility that Muhammad's not the only one that was involved in this, because his sayings weren't exactly compiled while he was alive. And so there are things that he may not have said, he may not have done, that others threw in. That's a distinction. But nevertheless, this is not inspired. That is. This is not from God. That is. And God is going to be consistent about it. Whereas the Quran and other works of men, they're not consistent at all. There are laws against lying, but there are also exceptions to it. And who is the father of lies? It is not God. God is not the father of lies. God will never lie. He's not there to deceive. Can He be one that outsmarts? Yes, He can. But as we will see concerning that of when Ahab is wanting to go to war, and he's convinced Jehoshaphat to come along with him. Jehoshaphat wanted a prophet of Jehovah to tell him whether they should be going to war or not. And what is told is the absolute truth. There are all of these prophets, they're not of Jehovah. They're saying, go on up, God is with you, Jehovah is with you. Then Micaiah is called in, and he tells them what is going on. That there are, in fact, after he does say something in an ironic or a sarcastic way, and Ahab knows that it is, and he makes him swear that that's the truth. And then Micaiah tells him what's been going on behind the scenes, that there are lying spirits in those false prophets. And that if he goes up, he's going to die. He was just told the truth. Just told the truth, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. He's going up there, and he's going to die. And now, we have finished our book of Proverbs, and I want to thank you for your willingness to remain in this, because it is a very powerful study. And as I said months ago as well, that after we get through Proverbs, I feel like I can begin studying the book of Proverbs. I really do. And of course, the study is never over. But this is an extraordinary book, put almost in the middle of the Bible. But what follows after Proverbs is Ecclesiastes, and of course Song of Solomon. Then starts an entirely different section of the Bible that does not sound like anything previous to it. Works of Moses do not sound like it. The works of history do not sound like it. These are the major prophets and the minor prophets. And I think the book of Proverbs has been put in here to help us in what comes next. And then things are going to change again, getting into the New Testament, with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John discussing just the life of Christ on this earth. And then letters after that. Of course, a book of history with Acts, but letters. And finally, going to back to apocalyptic literature, like what would be seen in the major and minor prophets in the book of Revelation. And thank you, everybody. And we'll continue with a different study next time.